Hey everyone, I'm going to share with you how you can edit your photos in PicMonkey.com. It's a free program. All you do is go to PicMonkey.com and just click the edit button. It's going to load up and then you can go ahead and bring in the photos you want to edit. So I'm going to go up to the top of the page and click the open button, and you'll have several options where you can open your picture from. Now you have a lot of different options of where you can actually open and grab your picture from. I'm just going to go with my computer because that's where I have all of my photos stored, and then I'll open up the picture that I want to start editing. Now I just go with the recommended image setting and then I go ahead and click edit, and this brings up my photo. Now the first thing I like to do is crop. So right up here in my basic edits tab, I have a crop option. Now in this program you have a lot of different presets you can choose from, or you can do a no fixed proportion if you just want to crop around the photo however you see fit to. I do mine in 16:9 format because that's what fits my videos, and that's also what fits on my blog, so it just works out well for me. So to crop this photo, you just have your little binding box and you drag your circles with your arrow, and then you just place the crop photo or the crop tool around your photo. You also have grid lines, so you can make sure that whatever you want in the center of your picture, in this case it's my card, I can make sure I have that centered really well right in my crop box. Then I'll go ahead and click the apply button, and now I'm ready to move on and actually change the colors of my picture a little bit and intensify them. So in your basic edits tab you have this colors option, and this is where you change your saturation and your temperature. I like to up my saturation a little bit just because I like to intensify my colors. Once you go back and I show you the before and after, you'll see what a difference this really makes. So I up my saturation a little bit, make my colors a little richer, and then I can play around with my temperature. If I have a weird orange glow on any part of my photo, that temperature, I can take it and remove that orange glow, or if I have a little bit too much of a blue haze, I can do the opposite and take that away as well. So that's something you just need to play around with on each photo and feel out what works best. Now moving on to the exposure, this is where you change your brightness, your highlights, your shadow, and your contrast. Now all of these settings are going to be dependent on what your picture was when you first took it. The brightness is going to be dependent on how bright your picture was when you first took it. So in this case I didn't need to up it very much, and the rest of the settings I just play around with until I like what I see in my photo. Now if you ever take your area in too bright of a space, you know that you can get a haze on your photo. Now this is where the sharpen tool comes into effect. You can take that haze away ever so slightly and get a really sharp looking photo, even if you've overexposed your photo a little bit. So here I don't really need to do it, but I just wanted to show you that you have that option in this program if you ever need it. Now you also have a rotate if you ever need to rotate your picture, and I'll show you that in my next photo that I do. You can also straighten and things, but I'll show you that in the next photo. Now a few fun things to play around with in this program. Right underneath your basic edits you have the little magic wand, and that is your effects tab. Now there are a ton of different effects you can play around with. Some of the ones that you might want to use on your card making photos are this frost effect, and that just adds a little white glow around the outer perimeter of your photo, and you can change the color on this if you want a pink frost or a red or blue, whatever you might want. You can change the size, the intensity, and also the opacity of it, so you can make it a little bit more translucent as well. You can also add a darkened edge around the outside of your photo, and that's basically the opposite of your frost. You have a white border and you have a black border, so whichever one you might want to use. You can also do any one of these little effects in here. The ones with the little crown on them aren't free, but there are a ton of free ones in here if you just want to use the free program. Another one that might be fun to use with your photos is this focal soften. Now whenever I click on it, you're going to see that it will blur out the area around my focal point. So whenever I put the center of whenever I cropped out my photo and made the card the center of my photo, that's going to blur out all of my little distressings, all of my little props. It's going to blur those out and really intensify that card in the middle. So it blurs out the background of the photo and keeps your card the front and center. This would work especially well for your photos that you might sit up and you prop up and then you have a background behind them. On my cards that I do laying down, this isn't the greatest. Now you also have a text tab, so if you want to write tutorials on your photos, you can do that with that. You also have a frames tab, so you can add different frames around your photos on your blog if you wanted to. There are just really a lot of fun things to play around with in this program that are free to use, and it just helps your picture look just a little bit better. And I always go in and edit my photos. Even if I take them in the best of light, they can always be touched up a little bit. Now once I am done completely editing my photos, I've got them where I want them, you can also add your watermark in with this program. So that little butterfly tab is actually the overlay tab. You can go up to that button that says add your own, pick where you store your watermark. Mine is my computer. I choose the watermark I want. Then you can resize it down, move it around, place it where you want it on your photo. You have your overlay tab up now, so you can fade it just a little bit if you want it more translucent. And then whenever I'm done, I can go ahead and I can save my photo. Now you do need to sign in. It's free to make an account. So I've made my own here, and then I'm just going to save my photo. Now up here you can do your file name, and so I just make mine finished card 1234. Then you can change it to a JPEG or a PNG, whatever you might want to use. I use JPEG. Then you have a different quality to use. Now this is where your file size comes into play. I do the middle option just for a better picture, but it's also a manageable file size. If I go up to the biggest file size, it ends up being 4.1, and that's just a little bit too big for me. Unfortunately, unlimited storage space isn't an option on my computer, so I go ahead and I do my middle quality here, which is Pierce, and then I just save to my computer. Now here is a look at the before and after photo. And the before is on the right hand side, the after is on the left, and you can just see what a better photo it is. It's intensified my colors, it's brought my card to life a little bit more. It just looks better. So even though I wasn't completely unhappy with the photo I took of my card, I still always go back in and edit because it can always get better. Alright, so on this card, I need to go ahead and I need to rotate it. So I'm going to go to that rotate button, and then you can just rotate it around until you get it to the position you want it in. You can also use this straighten button, and here you're going to see it kind of tilts itself. And if you ever go too far and you do not like what you've done, there is a back button on the bottom. It's your little back arrow. You also have a forward arrow, so if you want to click back and forth to see if you really like something, that's an option. So I've straightened my photo out, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in and crop it. I'm going to do mine in a 16:9 again. And anytime you open up a new photo, it does go back and reset, so you'll need to choose your crop size again. So again, I'm just going to crop this and use my grid lines to make sure that my card is the center focal point of this picture. I've got a few little props around it, things I've used on the card, and a few scattered sequins as well. I just do this to kind of dress up my photo a little bit. Then I'll go into my colors tab, and I'm going to change my saturation and temperature. I do this before I do my exposure just because I like to get my colors a little bit more intense before I go in and I change any of my brightness or anything. It's just what I prefer to do. So I do my colors first, then I go to my exposure, and I tweak my brightness, my highlights, and my shadows. Whenever I'm happy with them, I will click the apply button. And if I ever go too far again, I can just use my back button, or I can click cancel before I click apply, and that will reset my exposure and I can go back in and start from scratch if I want to do it that way. And again, for these, there really isn't a set number you want to go on. You just need to play around with these on each individual photo. Even if it's the same card, a different photo is going to have different brightness levels, all kinds of that stuff. You really just have to go photo to photo and really decide what works best for that photo. Now on this one, I'm actually going to add the frost effect, so I have clicked that to add to my photo. And now I'm going to go in and change the size of it, the intensity of it, and also the fade of it. So it just fades into the background a little bit better. And once I'm happy with that, I click the apply button. And now I am done with editing this photo. I can go in, add my watermark with the overlay button, resize it down, and in this instance, I started with my black one. I thought it would show up better. However, it really went into my background. So I just deleted it. You can hit the delete button on this. And then I just brought in my white one, placed it down, resized it, and I was much happier with it. So you can also play around with which watermark you use. It's very easy to just go in, delete it if you don't like it, and start over and place the other one down. And as long as you save your photos with a different name, nothing is going to be permanent on this. So if you ever feel like you went too far on a photo and you've already saved it, just go back to your original, the one with your original file name, and that way you can go back in and restart over if you ever feel like you really don't like the edit you did. Now in this program you also have different layers you can add, so if you're into clean editing you can do it that way as well. I don't really do it. I just find I don't like to add a bunch of layers. It confuses me, so I just do them all in one go. Now I'm going to go ahead and save that photo onto my computer with a different file name. And here you can see the before and after of the photos and just how much more vibrant and in focus my card is. And those are just two very quick and simple edits that you can do on this free PicMonkey program that you can find at PicMonkey.com. I'll leave that link in the description box below so you can go over and play with the program yourself. And remember, nothing is permanent. As long as you save with a different file name, you can always go back to your original and start from scratch, or just hit that back button and go from there. It's very simple and very easy program to use, so have fun. Thanks for watching, guys.